The sun gleamed over Fifth Avenue in New York City, casting a golden glow over the towering luxury boutiques that lined the street. Inside one of the city's most exclusive fashion houses, shoppers browsed racks of designer gowns and handbags with sky-high price tags. The store was a sanctuary of wealth and privilege, where only the elite came to shop. As the glass doors swung open, a hush fell over the store. Melania Trump stepped inside, her presence as graceful as ever. Dressed in an elegant white coat and oversized sunglasses, she walked with the quiet confidence of a woman who had been in the public eye for decades. She wasn't there for a spectacle, she simply wanted to browse, to enjoy a quiet moment away from cameras and politics. But not everyone in the store welcomed her presence. Behind the counter, a young sales associate in a sleek black dress stiffened as she recognized the former First Lady. Her lips curled into a barely concealed smirk as she leaned over to whisper something to her coworker. Within seconds, quiet murmurs spread among the staff, and a subtle tension settled over the room. Melania didn't seem to notice, at least not at first. She moved gracefully toward a display of designer handbags, lightly tracing her fingers over the fine leather. But then, she felt it. The stares, the judgment, the unspoken hostility. And then, it happened. A saleswoman, a tall, sharply dressed brunette with piercing eyes, strode toward her, her heels clicking against the marble floor. With a forced smile, she cleared her throat. "I'm sorry, ma'am," she said coolly, "but we don't serve people like you." The sun gleamed over Fifth Avenue in New York City, casting a golden glow over the towering luxury boutiques that lined the street. Inside one of the city's most exclusive fashion houses, shoppers browsed racks of designer gowns and handbags with sky-high price tags. The store was a sanctuary of wealth and privilege, where only the elite came to shop. As the glass doors swung open, a hush fell over the store. Melania Trump stepped inside, her presence as graceful as ever. Dressed in an elegant white coat and oversized sunglasses, she walked with the quiet confidence of a woman who had been in the public eye for decades. She wasn't there for a spectacle, she simply wanted to browse, to enjoy a quiet moment away from cameras and politics. But not everyone in the store welcomed her presence. Behind the counter, a young sales associate in a sleek black dress stiffened as she recognized the former First Lady. Her lips curled into a barely concealed smirk as she leaned over to whisper something to her coworker. Within seconds, quiet murmurs spread among the staff, and a subtle tension settled over the room. Melania didn't seem to notice, at least not at first. She moved gracefully toward a display of designer handbags, lightly tracing her fingers over the fine leather. But then, she felt it. The stares, the judgment, the unspoken hostility. And then, it happened. Shoppers, employees, even the manager watching from the back all waited to see what would happen next. The air was thick with unspoken tension, the kind that prickled against the skin and made even the most privileged onlookers uneasy. The saleswoman, emboldened by the attention, didn't back down. If anything, she smirked. She had the upper hand, at least in her mind. "We serve people who represent progress," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "People who stand for change, for equality, for the future, not relics of the past." A few murmurs rippled through the store. Some customers shifted awkwardly, but nobody stepped in. Melania, however, remained unshaken. With a slow, deliberate movement, she set her expensive sunglasses down on the nearest glass counter, the subtle click of the frame against the surface the only sound in the entire boutique. Then she smiled, not a forced media-trained grin, not a polite, hollow expression, but a smile that carried decades of experience in dealing with people who underestimated her. "Interesting," she mused, tilting her head slightly. "So let me see if I understand." She took a step forward, not aggressively, but with the kind of confidence that made everyone else step back. "You serve people who stand for progress," she repeated, her accent making every word sound smooth yet sharp, like a knife wrapped in silk. The saleswoman nodded, arms crossed, believing she had won. She had no idea what was coming next. Melania's gaze flickered to the luxurious glass cases surrounding them, filled with handbags worth more than most people's rent. To the mannequins dressed in gowns designed for red carpets and galas that only the wealthiest could afford. "Tell me, how much does progress cost?" The saleswoman's smirk faltered. "Excuse me?" Melania's smile widened just a little. She had her now. "Because from what I see, progress seems to be only for those who can afford it." The words hit like a bullet. A few customers let out small gasps. Someone near the dressing rooms choked on their expensive iced latte. Even the younger sales associate behind the counter dropped her pen. The saleswoman, now visibly uncomfortable, shifted her weight. "That's not what I meant." "No?" Melania raised an eyebrow, her voice still as calm as ever. "Then tell me, who exactly is worthy of your service?" The saleswoman's face flushed slightly, her confidence slipping. She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Melania let the silence hang in the air for a moment longer, just enough time for the reality of the situation to sink in. Then, with the same grace and elegance that had captivated millions, she reached for her sunglasses, slid them back onto her face, and turned toward the exit. But just as she was about to leave, someone spoke up. A voice deep, authoritative, and unmistakable. Just as Melania turned to leave, the sharp click of another pair of expensive shoes echoed through the boutique. The sound was deliberate, commanding attention in a way that only a true power player could. "Excuse me, but what exactly is happening here?" The voice belonged to a man in his late 50s, dressed in a perfectly tailored navy blue suit. Salt and pepper hair, an air of effortless authority. This wasn't just another shopper. The entire boutique turned to look. Even the saleswoman's smug expression faltered as she recognized him. This was Alexander Laurent. A legend in the fashion industry, Laurent was a renowned designer, one of the few who had dressed the world's most powerful women, including, at one point, Melania Trump herself. His approval could make or break a brand. And right now, his steely gray eyes were locked onto the saleswoman. "Are you refusing to serve this woman?" His voice was cool, measured, but there was something deadly beneath it. The saleswoman's confidence shattered instantly. "Oh, Mr. Laurent, I didn't mean." She scrambled for words, suddenly aware that this wasn't going the way she had planned. Melania, still composed, turned back toward them, her expression unreadable behind her dark sunglasses. She didn't need to say a word. The moment was playing out exactly as it should. Laurent took a slow step forward, his polished Italian loafers barely making a sound against the marble. "I'm sorry, but I must have misheard." He gestured toward Melania. "Are you telling me that a former First Lady of the United States isn't worthy of shopping here?" The store manager, who had been watching nervously from the back, rushed forward. "Mr. Laurent, I assure you, this is all a misunderstanding." But Laurent wasn't done. He turned his gaze back to the humiliated saleswoman, who looked as if she wanted to disappear into the floor. "Tell me," he said, his voice silk smooth yet razor sharp, "is this how your boutique treats its clients? Because if it is, I must say." He paused, letting the tension hang in the air. "You've just lost one of your most valuable ones." The words hit like an earthquake. The store fell into absolute silence. Even the customers who had been pretending to browse froze, sensing that they were witnessing something monumental. The manager looked panicked. "Mr. Laurent, please, we—" "No need," Laurent interrupted, turning toward Melania. "Mrs. Trump, you deserve better. Why don't we take our business elsewhere?" The weight of the moment pressed down on the boutique like a heavy storm cloud, thick with anticipation and silent dread. The once confident saleswoman stood motionless, her face pale, her smug expression completely erased. She had won nothing. She had only set a fire she could no longer control. Across from her, Mr. Laurent remained still, his piercing gaze locked onto the woman who had just humiliated one of the most recognizable women in the world. His reputation had been built over decades, carefully cultivated through precision, class, and power. And now, in a matter of minutes, this boutique had shattered its own standing. The manager, who had watched everything unfold with growing unease, suddenly found his voice, forcing out a weak, nervous chuckle. "Mrs. Trump, please, I'm sure this was just a misunderstanding." Laurent cut him off with a sharp glance. A misunderstanding? His voice was calm, but laced with a quiet authority that sent a shiver through the room. He turned back to the saleswoman, who was now gripping the counter as if it could keep her from sinking. "Tell me, young lady, what exactly was misunderstood?" She opened her mouth, but no words came. The room was deathly still. The other shoppers, once indifferent, were now completely engrossed in the scene unfolding before them. Some pretended to browse, others whispered behind delicate manicured hands, but no one left. No one wanted to miss what was happening. Melania, still poised, watched the exchange with an unreadable expression. She had seen moments like these before: power shifts, moments where arrogance crumbled under the weight of its own mistakes. She had nothing to prove. The damage had already been done. She reached for her sunglasses, sliding them back onto her face, her elegance unwavering. With a final glance at the saleswoman, she exhaled softly, almost as if she pitied her. Then, turning toward Laurent, she nodded. "I appreciate the invitation, Mr. Laurent." Laurent's eyes flickered with approval, and with an effortless motion, he gestured toward the door. "Shall we?" Without another word, they walked out together, leaving behind the shattered silence of the boutique. The doors swung shut behind them, and at that exact moment, the world outside erupted. Flash, flash. The blinding burst of camera lights exploded from the sidewalk. A swarm of paparazzi lunging forward, their shutters clicking in rapid succession. Melania Trump walking away from an exclusive boutique. Mr. Laurent, a titan of fashion, beside her, his face stone cold, unmistakably disapproving. The store's name reflected in the glass doors behind them, the perfect shot. In a matter of minutes, the internet caught fire. Breaking: Melania Trump humiliated in luxury boutique. Fashion icon stands by her side. Social media erupted. The boutique's name trended worldwide. Thousands of comments, posts, and retweets flooded the internet. Wait, did they really refuse to serve Melania Trump? Mr. Laurent just walked out with her? Oh, this store is done. The boutique really thought they could publicly humiliate her. Yeah, no, rip their reputation. Meanwhile, inside the boutique, the weight of what had just happened settled like a thick fog. The store manager gripped his phone, his hands shaking as he scrolled through article after article. His eyes darted toward the saleswoman, whose entire body was stiff with realization. The arrogance, the superiority, it was gone. She had thought she was making a statement. Instead, she had started a war. The chaos outside the boutique was nothing compared to what was happening online. Within minutes of Melania and Laurent leaving, the internet had caught fire. The viral images of Melania walking away with grace and power, while a legendary fashion icon stood beside her in silent support, spread like an unstoppable force across Twitter, Instagram, and news sites worldwide. The boutique's social media pages were instantly flooded. So this is how you treat customers? Refusing service to people based on their political views? Disgusting. I will never shop here again, and I'm not alone. You just lost half your customer base. Hope it was worth it. Their Google reviews tanked within hours. What had once been a pristine 5-star establishment had dropped to a humiliating 1.3 stars, with thousands of angry comments pouring in. Inside the boutique, the atmosphere was suffocating. The manager stood behind the counter, his hands gripping his phone so tightly his knuckles turned white. His eyes darted across the screen as he scrolled through the devastating backlash, his face growing paler with each passing second. The once smug, self-assured saleswoman now stood frozen, staring blankly at her own phone as the reality crashed down on her. Every single one of her social media profiles was being exposed, her name circulating in trending posts, calling for her termination, or worse, a complete industry blacklist. She had destroyed not only her own career, but the entire store's reputation. The store's corporate office was already on damage control, desperately trying to contain the firestorm. Emails flew, PR teams scrambled, but the damage had been done. Then the final blow came. A statement from Mr. Laurent himself posted to his millions of followers, accompanied by the very image that had gone viral. True elegance is how we treat others. What I witnessed today was the opposite of that. I choose to stand by grace, not arrogance. The internet exploded again. Major celebrities shared his words. Prominent voices in the fashion industry spoke out. Even those who had never openly supported Melania before acknowledged the sheer hypocrisy of what had happened. Then, finally, the boutique itself was forced to release a statement. We deeply regret the unfortunate misunderstanding that took place today at our establishment. We do not support discrimination of any kind and will be taking immediate action to ensure our values of inclusivity and respect are upheld. But it was too late. The damage was irreversible. Melania Trump, meanwhile, hadn't said a single word since she left the boutique. She didn't need to. She had already won. By the next morning, the story had spread beyond social media. It was on every major news network, discussed by political analysts, fashion critics, and talk show hosts. Some defended the boutique, claiming businesses had the right to refuse service. Others condemned the act as a clear display of political bias. Regardless of the stance, one thing was certain: everyone was talking about it. Meanwhile, the luxury boutique at the center of the scandal was in complete turmoil. Sales had plummeted overnight. High-profile clients began canceling their appointments, not wanting to be associated with a store that had publicly humiliated a former First Lady. VIP customers, once proud to flaunt their purchases from the exclusive boutique, now avoided it entirely. The store's social media pages were in chaos. The PR team worked frantically to control the damage, deleting thousands of furious comments. But every time they removed one, more appeared. Then came the final blow. One of the boutique's biggest competitors, a rival fashion house known for dressing some of the most powerful women in the world, issued a public statement. Unlike the carefully worded corporate apology the boutique had released, this was a direct invitation. At our establishment, we welcome all customers with respect and dignity. Melania Trump, we would be honored to have you visit us anytime. The message spread like wildfire. Within hours, millions had liked, shared, and commented. It wasn't just conservatives rallying behind Melania, it was ordinary fashion enthusiasts, celebrities, and business leaders who saw the hypocrisy in how she had been treated. Inside the boutique, the atmosphere was unbearable. The store manager sat in his office, staring blankly at his phone. Corporate had already called multiple times, demanding answers. There was no good explanation. The damage was irreversible. A business built on prestige and exclusivity had now become the center of an industry-wide controversy. As for the saleswoman who had started it all, she was gone. Fired, her name was circulating within the fashion industry, not as an up-and-coming talent, but as the woman who had single-handedly destroyed a brand's reputation. But Melania? She had not spoken a single word about the incident. She didn't need to. She had walked away with grace, dignity, and power. And in the end, it was not her, but the boutique that had been left humiliated on the world stage. Elegance always wins. What do you think? Was Melania treated unfairly, or do you believe businesses should have the right to refuse service? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more powerful stories that keep you on the edge of your seat. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.